What's going on, everybody? Welcome to something completely different. So this is going to be a review of a new series. Well, not necessarily new, but technically a remake of a fairly old series by this point. This is the Higurashi no naku Koro or Higurashi When They Cry remake from the original anime by the same name, which came out back in 2006. Yeah, with me as always I have Blue Spade.
Yeah.
I will say, like, when I heard about this, I was pretty surprised. I didn't, like, this kind of blindsided me because I didn't know they were planning on, like, remaking this series. But I was also fairly optimistic. I wasn't sure how to feel when I first saw, like, the original advertisement for it because the art style is a little bit different than the original. The character designs look fairly different. But the more I watched this episode, the more it kind of grew on me. So I don't really mind it as much, and I didn't really have too much of a problem with it. But yeah, I was really anticipating this when I heard that they were doing a remake of Higurashi. But I was also kind of concerned because I wasn't exactly sure if how faithful it was going to be to the original series, and if like how much would be new and how much would basically just be more or less the same. So yeah, I was pretty interested in seeing this first episode. When I didn't know actually that it was not going to be on Crunchyroll, which I kind of hated. I didn't know that because I started looking for it and I was like, where the hell is it? Apparently it's only on Funimation's website, which sucks in my opinion because there's really, like, the only way I could really watch this was through less than legal means, unfortunately, because I don't have a Funimation account to stream it or anything, so that's gonna suck. But yeah, most of the time the shows we watch are on Crunchyroll, so this is the one of the few exceptions, I suppose. But yeah, the episode, like, pretty much starts out more or less the same way as the original anime, where you see Keiichi just beating his friends to death. And we don't really have any context for this scene. We don't know why it's happening. But yeah, he's just beating his friends to death, and he pretty much has killed one of them, and he's beating another one. I don't know if they reveal the other one who he's beating, but we already know that he's beaten up one of his friends, which is Mion. Yeah, I don't know. Well, what did you think about this scene in comparison to, like, the original scene from the 2000s?
It definitely looked a little bit more graphic than it did back in the Studio Dean version. I mean, if I remember in the Dean version, they did show Keiichi, like, bludgeoning his friends to death, but they don't really show, like, what physical state they were in when, you know, they were on the ground. I mean, if you look closely to Mion's face, you can see, like, parts of her, like, her jawline is completely dislocated or something like that. And then, like, when he's bludgeoning Rika's head, like, you can, you know, see her, like, you know, her hand twitch every time he hits her. So that's another example of how I guess they're gonna make it a little bit more, like, intense and graphic in this version compared to how they did it in the original version.
Yeah, well, which I think is a good thing in my opinion, considering this is a horror series, and the original was already pretty edgy with the amount of blood and gore. So yeah, I wonder if they'll be able to get away with more in this one.
Yeah. Keep in mind that this studio animating this show is Studio Passion. For those that don't know what the studio is, they're basically known to making, like, ecchi specific shows, particularly, like, the most recent one, like, being Interspecies Reviewers. They also made, like, what was it, the Yuri anime called Citrus, and they also made the High School DxD. I don't know if it's DD or DxD. I don't know how they pronounce it.
I think people mostly pronounce it DxD. I haven't seen it though, so
I mean, you know, it's just Passion. Just, you know, it was originally known for all, you know, mostly ecchi shows, but
that's one of the reasons I was concerned about this, because this is a series that, you know, is it has some, like, somewhat some ecchi moments here and there, but for the most part it's a horror series. So I was a little bit concerned because, you know, it's something different. But Yeah, I haven't really seen anything else they've done, but based on what I've seen so far from this, I will say I'm pretty impressed. Like in terms of the art and the animation, everything looks. It already looks better because I mean this is Studio Dean we're talking about, you know, trying to compare it to. So, in my opinion, it's really not hard to make something look better in terms of the art style than Studio Dean. But I mean, Studio Dean has done some good looking series. I guess it just depends on what they're working on, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's just back then when Studio Dean worked on, I think the most notable ones we can tell is the original Higurashi and of course the original Fate Stay Night back then.
Yeah.
I mean, back then it was okay at its time, but seeing it as it is right now, you can really tell like the animation hasn't really aged that well when you look at it compared to what we see right now.
Yeah, because the original Higurashi kind of brought up the this meme called the Higurashi face, where the characters, when they go crazy, they the animation kind of the animation just makes everything look sort of uncanny valley in terms of their facial features and expression. And I don't know if that's just due to if that was an intentional thing, or if that was just Studio Dean's animation just being really weird and wonky, as it sometimes can be. But yeah, like it kind of turned into a meme. So I'm wondering if they'll do like something similar whenever each of the characters in this series like kind of starts losing it.
Yeah. Well, for this episode in particular, it was pretty much what I expected it to be. It was the majority of this episode was mainly just slice of life, like reintroducing all the characters that we saw like back in the original. It's mainly, this episode's just mainly designed to introduce like new viewers to the series for people that haven't watched the original like Higurashi stuff from back in 2006-ish, I think. So it just basically pretty much this episode is almost shot for shot like the exact same thing like as they did in the first episode back in the Studio D version. Like like I said, we see the opening scene, which Keiichi like is bludgeoning his friends to death, but then like soon afterwards we we get a proper introduction to Keiichi and his friends, like what was it,
Mion,
Rena. I think Rika is also there. Trying to remember off the top of my head.
Sadako. It's Sadako, Rika, Rena, and Mion.
Yeah, and of course, like it shows us to what school they attend. Now, they don't, in this anime, they don't really specifically say what type of school they're at, because in the original, like Keiichi mentions that he attends a school where everyone in the class are of a different age, instead of like a specific like grade or a specific age group or something like that. It's just everyone in in the same room are of different ages.
Yeah, Keiichi also, I think, recently just moved to Hinamizawa too, so I think he was from Tokyo or something, so he is the only one who I guess is not like a native to Hinamizawa that lives there. Hinamizawa
is mostly a rural hometown for most of the settings.
It's actually a real place too.
Yeah. I mean, no, I think it's technically based off of, like, Hinamizawa is actually a fictional town. It's actually inspired by like an actual town like called Shirakawa. Like I think it's somewhere in, if I can remember, it's not at the Tokyo prefecture. I think it was like around the Chubu region. Like I think it's it's still in the middle of Tokyo. It's still in the middle of Japan, but I think it's like on, I think far west off of from where Mount Fuji is, I'm guessing. Yeah, but yeah, overall this episode is just it's just basically just mainly slice of life, and it doesn't really get into like hint at any of like of the more sinister plot lines that are about to come until like probably by the end of the episode.
Yeah, like the beginning of this really just kind of gives you a feel for each character, like how Rena is obsessed with cute things. Sadako is the prankster, and she's always trying to prank people. Rika is always like, she is usually with Sadako, and she's always like kind of trying to comfort people whenever something bad happens, like to Keiichi, for example. Keiichi is usually the one who gets picked on, I guess, maybe because he's sort of like the outsider or something, so he just gets picked on a lot.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's just a little thing about Sadako, like in her pranks, is like, I mean, I can understand putting like, you know, a chalkboard eraser by the door and maybe like a rope on, you know, behind the door, but like fucking placing thumbtacks on the door handle is a bit much, in my opinion.
Yeah, the pranks go pretty far, like from what I remember, so I'm not too surprised. And then like, and that's why I liked each of the characters. They each kind of have their own like, they each have their own little quirks, and it's kind of easy to tell them apart in that way. And I forgot that for some reason Mion carries a gun around. I forget why. Like, she just, because if you notice, like, she has a gun holstered, and like just randomly has a gun, like a holstered gun.
I completely forgot about that part.
I don't remember why. Like, but yeah, she does that for some reason. And so we get introduced to each character, and then of course we get kind of shown around the different places of the town, and then things start to get interesting. Like, you know, when we visit Rena's favorite place, which is this garbage dump, that she goes looking for different things, the cute things in a garbage dump.
Yeah, and then soon afterwards, like, I think Keiichi meets up with this random guy who tells him about these mysterious murders that has happened,
the freelance photographer. He's kind of like, he visits the town, and he's also at the same time sort of investigating some of what was going on in the town, as far as I remember. And he's the one that kind of tells Keiichi about the dam incident, where they were trying to build a dam, and then like they basically something happened. It's sort of a mystery in the first season, and we sort of get more information as the season goes on.
Yeah, and it pretty much sort of gets into a head like by the end of the episode, where Keiichi and Rena once again go to the dumpster site looking for
Kenta-kun.
That Kenta-kun doll at the end.
Yeah,
and then like,
I forgot they have Kentucky Fried Chicken in Japan. They have, but they call him Kenta-kun, Colonel Sam.
Yeah, it's okay, and then of course by the end of the episode, like when it gets dark, and then Keiichi finds like a whole stack of old magazines that detail like all of the serial killings that happened from that was mentioned to him like years ago. And this is where the original opening starts playing too, which I was really surprised by. I didn't expect that to happen. When I first saw this, I was expecting them to have a new opening with a new song. That could still happen. This could have just been like a nod to the original series where they played the opening. But when I heard that, I was really excited. I was like, oh no, I did not expect them to do that. But I have to wonder if like maybe for the other episodes, if they're going to have a new song for the opening, or if they're going to maybe like use the old song and just have new animation. It's hard to tell. Like, I want to say they're because Spade thinks they might just do a new song, which I think they probably will, but I'm not really sure. They could also do what I think they might also do, is just have the old song and maybe have new animation, just as, you know, like sort of an homage, I suppose, to the original series. I suppose they could do that too. But yeah, I mean, yeah. I could assume that they might remix the old song, or have like a new band like do a
I don't know if the original if Eiko Shinomiya, I think, if she's still making music, or like what happened with her, because she did the original opening. She I think she did like all the openings for the first two seasons. Well, actually no, the openings for the first two seasons of the OVA. So she did like a lot of, I guess, you know, people will typically associate with her with Higurashi, so I guess it makes sense they would use that song.
Yeah, And well, of course, the end of the episode, while Keiichi is looking through like all these old news magazines, like the final shot, of course, before the credits is Rena, like I guess sneaking up to Keiichi with the machete in her hand, and then what we didn't expect was something that happened after the credits, in which the scene continues, but we see
Rika.
Rika, like, you know, just looking over them, but her eyes are like blood red.
Yeah, this could be a few different things. As someone who's seen the first 2 seasons, I have my theories as to what it could be, but I'm not exactly sure. This could also be something that was maybe from the visual novel that they didn't include in the original first season of the anime. So it's hard to tell. I wonder, like, if it's what I think it is, I wonder if they're really going to start, like, hinting at what's actually going on with Rika in the first season, which I wouldn't mind, but I also, like, a part of me is like, I don't want them to do it, because a big part of the first season is you're really left in the dark about a lot of what's going on, and because you're seeing it from Keiichi's perspective, and then in season 2 it switches to Rika's perspective, where you learn a lot about, like, what's actually happening. So I have to wonder if they may, like, start hinting at what's actually going on, or if they're just going to leave it sort of a mystery like it should be. It's hard to say. And also because I haven't read the visual novel, I really can't tell you, like, what's like what they're adding in from the visual novel. But I can tell you what I think is new, because that definitely is new. So I don't remember that.
It's because they didn't really specify what arc this is going to be. I mean, all I know is that all I know that they're calling this Higurashi When They Cry / New. That's the title of the anime. With Higurashi, there's the question arc and there's the answer arc. That's how it is in the visual novel, and that's what the first season did. So the question arc is basically where we get presented all these different mysteries and we're not really sure what's going on. We don't really get a lot of answers. The answer arc is where we do get the answers to what is happening, and that's basically season 2 of Higurashi, which is Kai. So season 1 is all the question arc. Season 2 is the answer arc. That's how it was in the original series, and that's what I'm assuming they're going to do for this one, where this is just going to all just be the question arc. And I'm more interested to see if they're actually going to, like, by the end of the season, and that's another question I have, like, if this is going to be a full season. There is no official episode listing yet as of the recording of this video, so I can't really say. I really think it should be 24 episodes, like in the original. I think it was 24, 24. I think it was 20. I think it was around that number.
Yeah. It should definitely be around the same length as the original, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm curious to see if it's going to be a full season, and also if they're going to do if they're also going to do Kai. If there's anything I think should definitely be remade, I think it should definitely be Kai, because in my opinion, Kai is the weaker of the 2 seasons. Not just because it doesn't really have the whole horror mystery aspect to it, but just because the answers we get, I feel like the explanations we get for a lot of things are very, very convoluted and are not very well explained in season 2. So I hope that maybe if they do remake it, they make it make a little bit more sense than it does in the original anime. Like, that's the only problem I really had with season 2. Like, I could follow most of what was going on, but, like, as to, like, the explanations for certain things, it just kind of left me confused. It's unfortunately, it's just one of those situations where the answers you get to the mysteries presented aren't nearly as intriguing as the mysteries themselves.
Yeah, I mean, but overall, I thought this was a decent looking first episode. Like, it's like I said, it's I expected this to be, like, you know, just a standard, like, you know, introductory episode, you know, with all the characters. And of course, this is almost in a way like a shot for shot remake of, like, the original episode back in 2006. So I wasn't too surprised on that. I mean, and also I'm glad, you know, they went this direction, because, like, you know, they're mainly just targeting properly targeting a new audience without having, you know, people rely on having to watch the original ones back then. Because I mean, honestly, there's no way to watch the originals unless you know go to like a third party site or something like that.
Oh, you mean the original anime?
Yeah, the original anime.
Well, no. I mean, they're well, the originals. I mean, you would be right for a while. Like, after it came out, yeah, for a while it was like really hard to get a hold of the original series because it was out of print. But Sentai recently has like re-released season 1, 2, and Ray, which is the OVA on Blu-ray. So yeah, you can pretty easily get a hold of it now.
I mean, I would imagine that the price tag is expensive in a way, but I haven't checked.
Well, they have a few different because they have the full, like, I think season 1 and 2 in one pack, and then they have separate Blu-rays for season 1 and 2 before they, like, I guess package both of them together, and then they have Ray. So I don't think they're too expensive as far as I remember, but yeah, I'm actually glad. Like, I was pretty excited when I heard Sentai was putting those out because they just had that DVD release before, and it was I think it was done by Genny on Universal, so it was out of print and it was really hard to find. And I think it was like over $100 if you were trying to find it. But yeah, then they re-released it on Blu-ray.
Yeah, well, but yeah, like I said, this is so far. I am liking where you know, where the show is headed. Like, just animation quality, I think it's a lot better than it was back in the Dean version. And you know, I'm definitely curious to, like, you know, how the next several episodes is going to follow up on this.
Well, yeah, we already kind of did get some scenes from the what's probably going to be in the next episode from the trailer. So based on that, it does look like it's more or less going to play out similar to what happened in the original anime. I'm still going to look out for if I notice any differences, though.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping that there are some differences, because
same.
I mean, if this anime is literally like a shot for shot remake of like every single scene back in the original, and then it's just going to be too predictable.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think there should be some changes here and there. But yeah, so far so good. It was this was a pretty good first episode, and I didn't really have much of a problem with anything. So I'm hoping that the second episode will be just as good, and I'm also pretty interested to see what they're going to do with the opening, because really curious to see how they handle that. But yeah, I don't know if you have anything else to say about
No, I thought this was a good first episode. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I wasn't expecting too much, because I expected it to be like, you know, like just reintroducing all the characters instead of just, you know, pushing us into something like, you know, like for, you know, to something that we haven't seen before. But yeah, it's a good way to reintroduce us to like all these characters we've seen like back in the original one.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, that all being said, I suppose until next Thursday, we will see you all next time.